How many transactions have you done?
60 to 100 deals a year. This year has been completely different. We've changed up some strategies. We'll do probably a little over 150
at so zero. Means every single day you're getting a new contract. How much revenue are you making a month now?
So pretty consistent with about 100, anywhere from like 100 to 125.
I want to teach people how to do over 100 real estate transactions in a year. Okay. That's the goal of this podcast. Lorenzo, how's it going, baby?
Oh, not too shabby, man. Thanks for having me. First ever podcast. I'm happy it's with you.
Yeah, I'm excited. So for those that don't know, this is the Wealthy Investor Podcast where we interview the top investors in the country. So if you want to learn from the best, subscribe to this channel. And I wanted to have you on because I know you are a big time wholesaler, flipper. You own some Airbnbs. You've done a ton of real estate. How many transactions have you done?
Oh, geez, I don't even know. I mean, over the past few years, we've been trending anywhere from 60 to 100 deals a year.
Okay.
This year has been completely different. We've changed up some strategies. So if everything keeps going the way it has been the last 6 months now, we'll do probably a little over 150.
150 deals. Yeah. Damn. All right. So I want to teach people how to do over 100 real estate transactions in a year. Okay. That's the goal of this podcast. But before we get into that, what got you into real estate?
Man, that's a good question. So I was working on an ambulance for a long time, and it just was not paying the bills.
Okay. Like you were like a...
Yeah, like an EMT.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Working on an ambulance, making $12 an hour. Just could not make it work. Right, working 12-hour shifts. One day, I actually just had this like huge revelation, was talking to my partner, the paramedic at a time, and was like, I just can't afford to live. And I really want to try to like make a lot of money, right? Just stupid and young. And he's like, well, there's really only a few ways that you can do that. One is be an entertainer, trade on the stock market, own a business, or get into real estate.
There we go.
And like a lot of people's origin stories, he handed me a book, and it was...
Oh, my God, dude.
Yeah, I know. So unoriginal and so cliche.
I know.
But
I get pissed when people tell me that, actually.
Man, but it's one of those books that's so easy to understand when you know nothing, because they keep it so simple. Reading that book now, there's a lot of like, okay, I mean, obviously that type stuff, but like... When you don't know a single thing about real estate and you read that book, man, it can really just turn on the light bulb. And it did. Yeah. I quit and got my real estate license.
You actually quit?
I quit.
You just like...
I can't do it. I mean, there's only so much you can take at $12 an hour, right?
Okay.
And I've always had a good work ethic. I've always worked really hard and wanted to be like the best at whatever it is I was doing.
Yeah.
And it just didn't seem like that was going to be the mold on... putting my best foot forward.
Okay.
So I quit and I got into real estate. Got my real estate license, joined Berkshire Hathaway.
Okay.
Didn't know anything.
When was this?
This was 2012.
Oh, okay. So you've been in the game for a while.
I've been in the game for a while. And I ended up meeting someone at Berkshire Hathaway who just saw me coming into the office every day and just cold calling in the back all by myself. Mm-hmm. This was a time where like agents were very skeptical. There wasn't a ton in the market at 2012.
Yeah.
Things were pretty rocky. A lot of like short sales, REO still going on. So I was just in the back cold calling, and I was horrible at it. Oh my God. And I was scared to do it. Yeah. So much so that sometimes when people would pick up the phone, I'd just hang up, right? Like,
dude, we have the same story.
I did not have the gift of gab off the back, but I was a hard worker, so I just kept plugging away. This guy saw that and brought me onto his team. His name was Paulie. We used to call him Paulie, put him in the trunk, like just big Italian guy, but was a beast on the phones.
Oh.
So kind of taught me the way, put the best verbiage in my brain, and really taught me how to cold call.
Yeah.
Which was great. And then Paulie left. He got recruited by Keller Williams in Austin.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, oh no.
Oh, I think I know who you're
Paulie
talking
Campanaro.
to. Yeah. Did he train Dan Mum?
Yep, Dan Mum. So it was me, Dan Mums, and a guy, Robbie. So it was just us three on his team.
Got it.
And we would all just sit there and cold call together all day. And
St. Rose? St. Rose office?
Yep.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was us four, which was awesome. Dan Mums went on to become a great agent.
Yeah.
Robbie went on to become a great agent and investor.
Uh-huh.
And I had actually left real estate when he left and went into timeshare.
Oh, okay.
And that's when I really kind of earned my stripes in the sales world. If there's any job out there that's going to brutally teach you the sales skills, it's timeshare.
Really?
Oh my Lord. Yeah. I mean, it's like getting a PhD in sales in my opinion. There's nothing else like it, right?
Why?
Like,
Because you're just selling crap, or?
well, you're selling ice to Eskimos. Like you really are at the end of the day. Like if you're selling cars, somebody walks onto the car lot, they're there to buy a car, right? If you're selling furniture, if you're selling anything, they're usually coming to you. All you just don't F it up now.
Yeah.
Right? Timeshare, you sit down with somebody, the first thing they look at you and say is, hey, I know this is a scam.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to be able to sell me, and I'm just here because they're giving me free stuff. And an hour and a half later, they're pulling out like 7 different credit cards to buy something that's $100,000, right?
Wow.
So I worked for one of the top timeshare places in the nation.
Yeah.
Hilton, who has an unlimited budget, right? It's $1 billion company, and they pour it all into their salespeople. So we were having psychologists come in once a week. We had like the top sales trainers in the country coming in and teaching us like the psychology of sales, really like the 101 all the way up to like earn your stripes as a PhD in sales. I mean, there's guys in there making well over 7 figures selling timeshare, which is insane.
That is insane.
Yeah. So that's where I really earned like I said, my stripes in the sales world. I started wholesaling slowly out of the timeshare office. So I would set up Facebook ads, have people fill out Facebook stuff or want to sell my house now. And I would go on appointments after I got off of work. And I slowly started making the same and then more money locking up those properties. I had like 3 buyers that I'd sell these properties to. That was 2018. At the end of 2018, I was like, I think I need to actually make the leap, quit timeshare and jump into wholesale full time. And just haven't looked back.
Got it. So let's talk about your progression as a wholesaler. So 2018, that's when you went full time?
Full time. Yeah, it was like October of 2018.
And what did your first few years look like? Did you scale right away? Was it a slow grow?
I did well-ish right away. 2019, I did 35 deals, primarily all RVM and cold calling, and I was the one cold calling.
Got it. And just so people know, RVM means like ringless voicemail. So
yeah,
your phone will ring, but then it'll hang up, and then you'll leave a voicemail.
Yep. Yeah. And just people call you back, and you've got to field in the nasty phone calls along with some of the good ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to do ringless voicemail too, and I did very well until I got sued, and so then I stopped.
Yeah, that was a quick way to get into litigation.
You want to get sued? Start RVM and just see what happens.
For the record, we don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I've heard way too many horror stories. I came out unscathed, thank God.
Yeah. And just for the record, I may or may have used to do it. So just
exactly.
Supposedly.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So yeah, we definitely don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But it was a great way to start off, along with cold calling. Obviously, I mean, I think that's a lot of people's origin story with this is cold calling, and we still do it today, and it works fantastic.
Yeah. So. First few years, you did about 30 transactions a year. When did you like scale to getting up to like 100 transactions a year?
It wasn't too far off. Right after the whole like COVID scare and people are actually allowed to go see properties again. I had built up a decent budget. At the time, I also had gotten a partner who was going to work just primarily on the construction side of things, right? I'll focus on sales. I hated construction, did not like the rehab process at all. I had done a good handful of my own flips by then.
Yeah.
But it was me going up to contractors with pictures and being like, hey, can you just do this? And I'll see you in a month.
Yeah.
And it did not go that well. right?
How did that not go well? I feel
Yeah.
like contractors are so trustworthy.
Right?
And they can follow instructions so
Just
clean.
my bad luck, apparently.
That's funny.
But so I don't want to deal with that stuff. So ended up getting a partner for that. And we had scaled it pretty quick. I think our first year together, we did a little over 60 deals.
Yeah.
The second year, we did a little bit better. And then last year, we started off strong, and then interest rates changed.
Yeah.
And got caught with our pants down, really, because we really got into the luxury game.
Yeah.
And had a few big luxury deals.
Yeah.
When I say big, I mean one was, the ARV on it was $5 million. The other one was $3 million, and got caught with our pants down. Ended up losing quite a bit of money on those.
How much did you lose on those deals?
So between three of them, we lost $500K.
That's not that bad. I mean, that's bad for sure.
Yeah.
That's super bad for sure. But I feel like it could have been worse.
Oh,
I
for
feel
sure.
Like some people lost. I lost $250,000 on one deal.
Yeah.
So, but it wasn't a luxury deal. But yeah, I've heard of people losing millions of dollars.
Yeah.
On luxury
It could have
deals.
been way worse.
Yeah.
But it was a good learning experience throughout the
Yeah.
entire thing. And it also kind of, I mean, the whole interest rate change to set the expectations of what I should be doing in terms of which markets I should be in, how I should be like diversing the business. And that's the reason I'm able to do so much now.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Right.
you learned from your mistakes, and that helped you scale your business.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, if there's anything that's consistent in real estate, it's change.
Oh, for sure.
So it's coming, and sometimes it's for the best, and it's great. And
Yeah.
you're in a great market, and you can list at 300, and you're gonna sell it for 325.
Yeah.
So
or
like,
350 or 375.
and then the opposite's gonna happen,
Yeah.
and you have to know when to shift and how to shift. And in my opinion, the best way to do that is to be in different markets, so you can diverse the type of buyer you're selling to as a wholesaler.
Yeah. So, okay. So then market shifted, interest rates went up. What did you guys end up doing 2023 and then now in 2024, like business wise?
Yeah, 2023, I think we ended the year with right around like 65 or so deals.
Okay.
At that time, I had kind of gone off on my own, started the new year, and then just immediately branched off into different markets.
Oh, okay.
Was just kind of, I mean, Vegas is a great market, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but you're dealing with one type of person, and it's a fix and flipper, right? There's not too many people fighting over deals that are going to buy it and rent it out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Right.
Especially
It's,
now.
Right. And it's also a new market, right? So like an old home in Vegas is what, 1970?
Yeah.
Right. 1965. People are like, oh my God.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
got to
yeah.
have a ton.
I know. That's
Right.
so funny.
It's insane. But like when you go to different markets, an old home is built in like 1905, 1940.
Yep.
Right. And you've automatically checked a box in like your sales process,
Yeah.
right? Conditions screwed no matter what.
Yep.
So you're already stepping into a property that needs work.
Yeah.
Now all you have to do is perfect the sales skills with that owner, and you've got a deal,
Interesting.
right? Here they have options,
Yeah.
right? You still have to have the sales skill, you still have to have that, but unless the tenants have completely destroyed the home, they're hoarders, they're in like a very desperate situation, you're not really going to score that deal. I mean, you still can. It's just a little bit tougher, right? It's really hard to scale high to
Interesting.
150.
150 deals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's very interesting that you bring that up because I started off here, very similar story. I started at Berkshire Hathaway, but I was with Craig Tan in the Southwest office
Under Aldo.
under Aldo.
So that's where I originally started,
Got it.
and then was just working with Paulie and ended up switching.
Got it. So I started off as a realtor here and then moved to California and got into flipping and wholesaling, right? And then out there, I was in California the last 6-7 years. And then I just moved back here a year ago. So I've experienced both markets now as a flipper and a wholesaler. And I think California is better because like you said, a lot of the houses here in Las Vegas are newer.
Right.
And I feel like Las Vegas is more competitive.
Super competitive.
Yeah. I used to think that like, oh, you know, like all markets are competitive, and they are for sure.
Oh yeah. You're not going to get away from that.
Yeah. But the level of competition in Las Vegas is just like so high because the population is a lot smaller. So people can broad market like a lot easier when there's like 1 million people or two. I would say about 1 million like actual wholesale flippable houses than Southern California, where there's like 15 million or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, like Los Angeles, I think has like 3 million people just in that city.
For sure.
Yeah. So, and another thing that you brought up is in Los Angeles, Southern California, Riverside County, San Bernardino County, there's a bunch of houses built in like 1920s to 1960s. So like you said, when you talk to someone, they're like, oh, it's original. You already know the whole house needs a rehab. Where here, for a house that's built in the 1970s or newer, because 1970s is like the old houses, right? Most of them are newer. It's hard for it to be like completely trashed unless the home seller was just kind of crazy.
Right. And you're not dealing with weather conditions out here, foundation issues. Tornadoes, hurricane, like the homes pretty much stay sound unless, like I said, tenants are going wild and punching holes in doors and stuff like that, right? So you really have to hope for the best in those kind of situations to even have like a really good shot at it. It's a lot harder to scale it.
Yeah. So now that you've scaled your business, what does it look like right now? Like team-wise, deals-wise, all that stuff?
Yeah, so I have 2 acquisitions, 1 lead manager, and I just hired a dispositions person. So Dispo has been on my plate. I mean, in Vegas, it's so easy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You throw a deal in the air and it's 3 flies up. Everyone's jumping to get it, and it's easy to negotiate above or within the top 3 people who are doing that.
If it's a good deal.
If it's a good deal, right? Which is, I mean, we're always trying to put our best foot forward with deals, and we don't want to be the wholesalers that's just sending things out in hopes somebody's going to buy it, because they don't.
Yeah.
And then all they do is stop checking your emails.
I'm the same exact way. I hate sending out garbage. And my team, sometimes they're like, oh, well, let's just see. And I'm like, I already know. We're just wasting time.
Exactly.
But,
so, I mean, I don't like to do that. There's some deals that would be like really on the cusp and be like, I mean, if we do sell it, it's not going to be for a lot, but our cancellation rate is super low because of that.
Yeah.
Like I'm underwriting every single one of our deals because I don't want to be branded as the wholesaler that's just sending out deals. Yeah. And I mean, my inbox fills up with them every day.
For sure. So you got 2 acquisition, lead manager, Dispo, and you.
Yep.
Yeah, so you have a team of 5, and then nowadays, how many like deals are you doing a month?
So right now we're doing anywhere between like 12 and 15.
12 or 15 deals a month. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone weeks where we've gotten a deal every day.
I think I saw that on your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually keep something up in the office now that's like a blank deal or days without a deal. And as soon as it goes past 0, I start making a big deal of it in the office. Like, guys, we're 2 days without a deal. It's time to step it up. Get on the phone, get somebody. And I think it's helped because nobody wants that to change.
Yeah.
Everyone wants that 0.
Yeah. Just to explain it further. So you have a board in your office that after a day of not getting a deal, you put a 1.
Right.
And you try to keep that board at 0.
At
so that
0.
means every single day you're getting a new contract.
That's the goal.
Wow.
Yeah. I want to get it to, we're getting 25 to 30 deals a month. I mean, that's going to really be our sweet spot.
Yeah. So you're almost getting a deal every working day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's only like 20 working days in a month, and you're getting like 10 to 12.
Yeah. And we used to just get 1 a week here.
Interesting.
Right. So as soon as we scaled out, we didn't have to increase marketing budget, nothing. If anything, it's come way down.
Oh, so you scaled once you switched markets.
Right. So that's when things really took off. Like when we were just fishing in our own backyard in Vegas, not only were we spending a lot more on marketing, but we were only getting a deal a week.
Got it.
Right. Now I've shifted into these multiple markets. Now we're getting, 3, 4 deals a week. Plus I've been able to take our marketing budget way down.
Yeah. So let's just talk about before you switched markets. Like, how much marketing were you spending, and like what were like the key KPIs that you were looking at?
We've gone as high as $60,000 a month in marketing, office expenses, pretty much everything. But our sweet spot and where we mostly stayed consistent out here was right around like 30, 35 grand.
Hey guys, quick break from the podcast. First of all, thank you for listening to the Wealthy Investor Podcast. Also, I want you to know in the description of this video, there is a link. If you want to do deals with me in Las Vegas, California, or anywhere in the country, go to the link in the description, fill out the information. If you fill that out, you'll get access to the deals that we're wholesaling. You can also fund a deal and partner with you, or I offer one-on-one coaching. So if you want me to help you get your first deal or help you scale your business, just go to the link of the description. Now let's get back to the podcast. Okay, that's a
normal
amount.
Yeah.
And then what was like the return on investment on that 30K usually?
So I mean, every month was different. Being in the luxury space definitely helps those numbers, right? Because you sell one deal and you make 150 or 200 grand on it. So it's almost hard to even count those into like your average deal size and stuff because it gets so skewed, especially if you're only doing like one of those a month.
Yeah.
So that really covered the bills, I mean, for the most part, right? And that's where we really got caught with our pants down, is we got so used to that.
Yeah.
But on the other side, I mean, just wholesale wise, we would usually trend around anywhere from like 80 to 100.
Okay. So you typically 80 to 100. So that's like about a 3 to 4 ROAS. That's typical, like industry standard.
Yeah.
But you said when you switched markets, those numbers got better.
They got way better.
So like what happened?
So now I've been able to take our cold call budget down, right?
Okay.
Because we've just gotten more focused over, I mean, we're in 5 states now. So I can get a little bit more targeted with my data. So in Vegas, there's only so much you can, if you're in just one market, you can only target. I mean, if you pull a foreclosure list, I mean,
it's like 20 people.
Exactly. Right. But if you're in 5 states and you pull a foreclosure list, so I can get really targeted. I can target age better. I can target motivation points, and I can spread that out, which means now I'm getting a lot more motivated people on my plate.
Interesting.
Which we've also taken our cold call. I mean, it used to take us 150 leads to get a deal. Now my cold call, it's 25 to 1.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting because I thought before that the average, and I thought this from like all these podcasts, right?
Sure.
I thought the average amount of cold call leads was somewhere between 75 if you're killing it, to 100, even more. That's like if your team is good.
Sure.
But there's been a few people. Do you know who Eric Klein is? He's like
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's like the guy that just sold his wholesale company.
Oh yeah, I do. Yep.
Loud guy. So funny.
Yeah.
He told me the same thing, that he was closing about 1 out of 25 or less cold call leads. And I was like, that sounds super low.
Yeah.
And then I spoke to, do you know who Jacob Blank is? I spoke to him too. And he said the same thing. Like the number of cold call leads that he was closing was like lower than 25. I don't remember the number, but I was like, that's very interesting. I always thought it was much higher.
Yeah, and it's always been very high for us. And that's the standard that we've always kind of lived by.
Yeah.
And I think where people get it a little bit wrong in the cold call space is, and it's exactly what I used to do. And the big shift, I mean, it helps your acquisitions team as well, is I used to be on the team of, if anyone raises their hand when you're originally reaching out, send them through.
Yeah.
That's a lead.
Yeah.
Right? And you get a bunch of tire kickers, which is okay.
Yeah.
But then it bogs down your acquisitions team.
Yeah.
Right? Or your lead management team. Now everyone has too much on their plate.
Yeah.
You don't want a CRM with 12,000 people in it and only 1% of them actually have like any real motivation to sell their house.
Yeah.
Right? Because then everyone's spinning their wheels. You're getting upset. Like, how did you talk to 150 people today and no one's signing contracts? Then you start looking at your sales stuff. So we've turned the plate into, I want the cold callers now over-qualifying, which means they've got to be a little bit more skilled.
Yeah, they got to
right?
be better.
So we've had to hire like an actual skilled team to make sure that things aren't falling through. And then it to go from, 20 leads a day to now 2 or 3, my acquisitions team can get a little bit more focused in the sales process and spend more time with the quality leads than just qualify, no, all day long.
Yeah. This is such good information. If you guys are listening to this and you haven't subscribed, and let us know in the comments if you appreciate this, because you're giving, and I know everyone says, oh, you're giving gems. You're giving such good information.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So that's really cool too. That this is like your first podcast. But so now you're doing cold calling. What other marketing are you doing?
PPL, PPC.
Okay, PPL, PPC. And then you're still spending about $30K a month.
No, so right now I'm spending only $5,500 on cold call, $5,000 on PPC, which we're going to start to scale that up. It just needs to happen slowly and the right way.
Yeah.
And then PPL, we're right around, I'll turn it on, turn it off. So we're anywhere between 3,500 and 5,000.
Okay. So you're spending like about 15K max right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the PPL is nice because I can pause it, start it, pause it, start it.
Yeah.
PPC, you got to let run. Cold call, you got to let run.
Yeah.
But again, my whole goal is not to bog down the acquisitions people, right? And that's where I've made huge mistakes in the past, is giving them too many leads. Everyone thinks that the more leads I give this acquisitions person, the more opportunities they're going to get to close somebody.
Yeah.
It's not true. In fact, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
If you overwhelm somebody,
Yeah.
all they're doing is just they're skipping processes in the sales, or they're skipping certain things of like how they're qualifying, how they're taking this person, putting them through the hoop. They're not asking the right questions. They're just quickly qualifying or disqualifying right off the bat.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
Right? They're just so quick to move on to the next one, or now they're missing follow-ups with people that they promised they would call.
Yeah.
And it's, well, like, hey, I have 45 people that I set a follow-up reminder for today, but I also have 100 leads I have to call.
Yeah.
Right? There's no good that's going to come out of that.
Yeah.
So it's actually the opposite that happens. If you can keep the leads down and a little more qualified so that they can stay focused, your lead to contract is going to go way up.
Yeah. I wanna go into the $5,500 you're spending on cold calling, but just for the listeners to even get this further. So at Wealthy Investor, we try to scale marketing before, right? And let's just say we spent $50K and then we were bringing in, let's just say $200K, right? So we're like, okay, well, if we spend $100K, then we'll bring in $400K.
Sure, yeah.
So we ramped up marketing literally in like a month, and we were making $200K and went down to making $100K.
Right.
So we went from being profitable to breaking even.
Right.
And then we were just like, what the hell, these ads and blah, 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 blah. But then again, what happened was in a salesperson's head, they're like, well, I got another lead. I'll just call through these leads and get the hot ones instead of working the current leads and then following up. Because then we're like, hey, you need to call these leads. Like, there's leads in here calling. So they're more focused on getting onto the next lead and looking for the laydowns instead of like following up and really working the current leads that they had.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it seems like after talking with a bunch of different investors, that's something that just everyone has to go through to learn.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, if you really look at the sales process, in order to like build quality credibility with somebody, you have to make a phone call over and over. You've got to prove to them that you're a legitimate business, that if you tell them you're going to call them back on Friday and you call them, you're trying to get honesty out of these people.
Yeah.
So when you're missing those times, when you're calling late or not calling at all,
Or you just completely forget.
You're just plummeting your sales altogether, right? So overwhelming somebody is going to do the complete opposite of what you think it's going to do.
Yeah.
And that was the huge mistake that I've made in the past.
Yeah.
Is just turn it up.
Yeah. Crank it.
Right? Crank it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the $5,500 that you're spending on cold calling, what is that? Is that data and then dialers and then VAs, or what is that?
Doesn't count for data. It's just the VAs. They're out of Costa Rica. I use a team out there, and it's 3,500 dials per day.
3,500
So it's a little bit
per day.
different than like the $8 an hour or per seat per day.
And then is that 3,500 from one person, or
No,
is that
it's a team of them.
Oh, okay. So they just promised to do 3,500 dials a day.
Yep.
And then how many leads does that bring in?
Every day we're getting anywhere from like 2 to maybe on the top side 5.
Okay, 2 to 5 leads.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's where we want to keep it, because I don't want my acquisitions people getting any more than 25 new leads per week that they can work on.
Yeah. And then do you give them the dialer? Do you know what dialer they use?
They use Ready Mode.
Ready Mode. Okay, yeah, we use Ready Mode too.
Yeah.
And then, so there's Ready Mode. Where do you get the data from?
All sorts of, different sources. I use Batch for some, PropStream for some. We use DataFlick for some.
Yeah.
It just all depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No secret. Like
No.
the most popular places. And then what about CRM?
CRM, I've actually, I feel like I've used them all. I'm using RE Simply now.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the one. It seems to be the best for our setup as of right now.
Yeah.
I've used Podio. I've used Follow Up Boss. I've used a bunch of different stuff.
Have you used Close or Go High Level?
No, Go High Level. So it was between RE Simply and Go High Level, and we were looking into both of them in depth, and we ended up going with RE Simply. But I've heard good things about Go High Level too.
Yeah, Go High Level is hit or miss. So we've used Close at Wealthy Investor, and that's like, I personally think, the best sales CRM because like how quickly someone can go through. It gives you dashboards with like reporting and all that stuff like automatically, where you don't even need to like create it. Go High Level could do way more. Like you could like create landing pages and Go High Level and then see, people when they look at it and like all that stuff. So the sales and marketing wise and fulfillment in Go High Level is good, but like I think for sales specifically, I think Close is the best. We're using Go High Level right now. I don't want to switch it because we're trying to scale certain things. So I'm like, I don't want to distract everyone with like switching CRMs.
There's nothing worse than switching CRMs. Oh my Lord.
Yeah. So like all of everything is set up in Go High Level right now, but I want to switch to Close. But okay. And then how much are you paying just for the 3,500 dials a day?
So $3,500 dials a day equates to $5,500 a month.
Oh, okay. 55. Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's just like an all-in-one thing. Got it. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then do you have to train these VAs or manage them?
No, it's all ran by a team.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, it's fantastic. It's the Lamasu team, and they're
What's
awesome.
It called? Is it called Remote Latinos?
No, it's Lamasu is the name of the company.
Oh, okay. How did you find them?
Through a mentorship that I'm a part of.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay. Okay. So let's just talk about KPIs on your cold calling. Do you know the return on that? And then do you know like how many deals you're getting a week from cold calling?
Yeah, we've been pretty consistent with right now getting either a deal or two a week just from the cold calling.
Yeah.
And our average assignment fee right now is $17,000.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the average wholesale fee, I believe in Vegas and in Southern California, typically is like above 20K. Would you agree with that?
Vegas got a little tougher towards the end.
Yeah.
Just because it seems like every time you're making offers to sellers, you're dealing with multiple investors. Everyone's stepping on each other's toes, which, that's always going to be the case in other places. But when we were just doing it in Vegas, I believe our average wholesale fee was right around like 12.
12. Got it. Okay. I think I agree with you where like over this last year, 2024, that got smaller. Some of our wholesale fees this year have been like pretty big for Vegas, like 30K, I think. We had a 30K, we had a 20K. Yeah. But we have, that one is in California. But when I was going on appointments and stuff out here too, literally same thing. Like you show up, there's somebody there, maybe there's someone in the driveway, and then you're just like, damn, this is like very competitive.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I don't necessarily mind it. If anything, it gives you kind of a leg up competition-wise, like with sales, when there's other people involved.
Yeah.
Because you can get a little bit more out of the sellers when there's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily information.
Okay,
right.
Not like revenue.
No.
Yeah.
So, sometimes the revenue was a little sticky. when you have a lot of people. But sales wise and able to score the deal, I love when other people are involved.
Got it.
Right? When there's 20 other people involved, it gets a bit murky.
Yeah.
But if there's just a few other investors that are also going to see the home, in my opinion, best case scenario.
Got it. Okay. All right. So I think we covered everything with cold calling. I feel like that's pretty covered. PPC, you're doing 5K. Are you running it yourself or using an agency?
I'm running it myself.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We've hired a bunch of different agencies to do it. It's tough because no one's going to care like you do.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's difficult. I mean, we've done Facebook too and hired agencies for that. And all they did was go in and turn on the ads that I had made myself. And so I was like, okay, that's it. You know, if I can do it, I can do it on button.
Yeah.
But PPC was the same. I mean, we were using agencies and they're just not going to monitor it the same way you would.
Yeah. Or they will at first and then they hand it off to a VA and then...
Exactly. Right. There's like a face of the agency and it's the guy who started the business and I'm sure he kills it.
Yeah.
Right. However, you don't really get that guy.
Yeah.
You get his people.
Yeah.
And then his people also have 50 other people that they're working with.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for them to get in there and mark all the negative keywords they need to every day and monitor your PPC business the same would they that if it was your own.
Yeah.
You know.
What about like how long did it take you to learn PPC?
Not that long, actually. It seems more daunting than it really is. It seems very confusing. Like if you just log into your AdWords website and just start looking around, it's like, oh God, all right, I'm going to hire somebody. But I actually paid someone to just teach me. And it worked out fantastic, right? And as soon as you just watch a couple videos, and I'm sure there's free stuff out there too.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's how I learned how to do my own Facebook stuff was just YouTube University. Yeah. That was great. But for PPC, I just wanted to shell out a little bit of money, get all the information I can right up front. And it was fantastic. I mean, it becomes very undaunting fast and you learn it. And it's not that confusing once you really get into the weeds.
Yeah.
And then you're able to monitor it yourself and you can see what's wrong, what's right. And you don't have to point fingers at anybody, which is nice.
And then like, what's the ROAS you're seeing on PPC?
So right now it's really good. I mean, our average lead cost is right around 150.
That's cheap for PPC.
It's
usually
fantastic.
500
but we're going statewide too. So if you concentrate more on just the counties, it gets expensive.
Yeah.
But because we're in multiple states, you can bring that cost down.
Yeah.
And right now we're getting 1 out of 20.
1 out of 20.
We're able to lock
it's
up.
Close to cold call, the conversion rate, which is very uncommon. Usually like PPC is way less.
Right.
And then cold call is higher.
Right.
I've heard of people closing like 1 out of 6 PPC leads or 1 out of 10.
Sure.
So that's good that you're getting the leads for so cheap.
Right.
And then anything else you think people need to know for PPC?
No, I mean, you have one of two things you can do with PPC. You can hire an agency or you can learn it yourself. Like I said, I've done both now. So if I were to be able to go back 2 years and just learn it myself, I would have much rather have done that. Take the time, learn it, get good at it. And it's not as difficult as people make it out to be. And I am no tech wizard. Yeah. Like at all. Yeah. And I was able to easily learn it in a month.
Yeah. What about website? Like, where do you use Investor Carrot or did you actually like build out a website?
I had someone build out our website. The old agency that we were using built out a website on WordPress. Okay, WordPress. So, I mean, we had to pay a decent amount for it, but it's a good website. I mean, the biggest thing and why a lot of people, like I did use Investor Carrot for a long time. Yeah. I think they're getting more or less a little played out. Yeah. Because everyone's using them and they have the same copy. Yeah. So we switched over to WordPress, but Investor Lift also has some good stuff that you can use. Oh, okay. It's really all going to come down to how fast your website is. Yeah. And that's huge. Yep. And Google will slap you on the wrist and eventually just move you to the back of the line if it's slow. Yeah.
I think our website's being built on like Webflow, right, Justin? WordPress.
Yeah, WordPress is great. We just use Cloudways along with WordPress, and it just speeds it up.
Oh, okay. Got it. We
So
gotta take that note. Okay.
Cloudways, and it's like $50 a month, and it makes
okay.
the biggest difference.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. We're about to start using PPC Force.
Okay.
You ever worked with them?
Mm-hmm.
They're solid. Same as everyone.
It's an agency,
Yeah.
right? So it's going to be the same. They're not bad by any means. They definitely understand the game.
Yeah.
But then you just deal with the agency stuff again.
Yeah.
Right? It's just never going to be the same as if you were to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't think you'll get as good as results, but you'll get results.
Yeah.
They for sure deliver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so cold call, PPC, and then PPL. Who are you using like Sell My House Fast and
I was need to sell my house fast.
Yeah.
We were using them for a while. Things got weird. Things got shady a little
Yeah.
bit towards the end. I don't want to necessarily throw them under the bus too hard, but it seemed like there was
multiple people calling the same leads?
right.
Yeah, and I'm not accusing them of doing that, but sometimes.
But there was some weird stuff coming
Yeah.
our ways,
Yeah.
right? Where we'd reach out to sellers and they're like, I filled out this form a year ago and we're getting it. And so it seemed like they might be recycling leads. And given this was all happened when interest rates changed and things slowed way down,
Oh, okay.
which was weird. But
Yeah.
again, I don't work there. I don't know the
Yeah.
back office, but
And that was some
it
time
was
ago.
strange.
They probably fixed
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It was strange. I use property leads now.
Okay.
And we go statewide.
Got it.
It's been fantastic. I mean, our conversion with them has been like 1 out of 10. The first 14 leads that we got, we actually locked up 4.
Interesting.
And then the conversions kind of changed over time. But we're also novating a lot of these.
Interesting.
So if you're going statewide and you're not using novations as an exit strategy, you're wasting a lot of time.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're going to get a lot of rural stuff that you just can't wholesale. No matter, I mean, we're getting deals for $2,000.
Yeah.
Locking up properties for $2,000, can't sell it,
Yeah.
you know, as a wholesale.
So you
But
have to
if you
novate
grab
it.
the novation, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I did a podcast with Novation King and then another guy, Buyer Beater. I don't know if you know Buyer Beater.
No,
He's a
I
big
know
Novation
Novation
guy.
King, though. We actually just did a deal with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I'll put the links of those podcasts in the description if later people want to learn what novations are. But anything else for PPL? What are you paying, like cost per acquisition for PPL?
The cost per acquisition for PPL, I mean, we're locking up 1 out of 10. Each lead is $75.
Oh, that's really cheap.
Right. But because we go statewide, if we
Yeah.
just concentrated on the counties, which you can pick either county or statewide.
Yeah.
If you pick counties, then it goes way up. I mean, Vegas, I think, is $600 a lead.
Yeah.
Other big counties, whether you're going to look in like Dallas is like 450, Oklahoma City's 350,
Yeah.
Tulsa's 400. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's give and take.
Yeah.
Right. Given the leads are still good. So if our conversions if we were paying $300, given where our average assignment fee is, there's still money to be made there.
Yeah.
Just not as good as the $75 is so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you're a marketing genius in the real estate space, but I think you have a secret sauce that's helping you be successful. And I think that secret sauce is sales, because all these numbers that you're saying are very good. And I think people are going to hear this and they're going to be like, dude, I can close 1 out of 26 cold call leads. This is going to be great.
Sure.
But I think the secret sauce is sales.
Oh, for sure.
If you suck at sales, you could have all the leads
Right.
and you might get some of the laydowns.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah. And that's the big, so in my office, we have a sales process, right?
Yeah.
Just like every office should. Here's a script. Here's a sales process. This is how we take them from A to Z. But what we really, really concentrate on is beyond the sales process, and it's getting into like the sales psychology.
Okay.
And it's why we're asking these questions, not the way we're asking them, or use tonality and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like the really basic stuff.
Yeah.
I want my sales reps to know exactly why they're asking the question this way. Like, what's the point? Are you just asking it to ask it because I'm saying it's important? Or are you asking it to actually find something out so you can dig a little deeper, so you can paint a bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm really, really big on rapport building, which I know a lot of people in the industry are like against the rapport stuff or saying that it doesn't work as well. Like I said,
That's
I
just
come
RJ
from
Bates.
yeah.
RJ roasted me. I will never forgive you for that, RJ.
and I hear it all the time, and I've been in sales seminars or real estate seminars, and they'll say that it doesn't make a difference as long as you have a good sales process.
Yeah.
It may be true for some. However, it's just not what we teach, right? And we've gotten plenty of deals from people who have had higher offers.
Yeah.
Who are saying, you know what, I just don't want to deal with anybody else but you guys. So can you please just tell me what you would pay? I'd rather just deal with you because I trust you.
Got it.
Right? And that's what we want to hear. So we have a motto in ours. It's just beers and barbecue. Everyone needs to be talking to everyone on the phone as if they're at, going to go have beers and barbecue.
Interesting.
Right? If someone makes an offer and gets hung up on, it's a huge deal, right? Because you didn't build rapport. Right? You didn't earn the fact to price anchor them.
Interesting.
Right? You got hung up on because you missed a huge section of the sales process.
Interesting.
So I pay more attention to that stuff than like, are you specifically following the script?
Yeah.
Given those things need to happen.
Yeah.
But that's for sure our secret sauce is concentrating more on the sales stuff.
Where did you learn your sales process from?
I learned it all from timeshare.
Oh, okay.
So
you built it
it's
yourself.
it's a copy and paste. You just change the verbiage.
Okay.
But
So
everything is the same.
I want to break down the sales process, but I want to talk about different aspects of it.
Sure.
Right. So there's hiring, then there's training, then there's the actual sales process, then there's sales leading.
Sure.
So let's talk about hiring salespeople. So what have you seen are best practices for hiring a salesperson? What are some mistakes that you've made? What are some things you've done well?
Well, I'll start off with the mistakes. I used to just be on the team of let's see what you can do. So
You're who are you hiring? You're all of them.
yeah, and for the record, that does not work, right? Because all you're gonna do is waste your time.
Yeah.
And it's fun in the beginning getting somebody new in there and trying to teach them what you know and let me take what I have and try to give it to you. It's just not gonna stick for a lot of people. And a lot of people need to get kicked in the teeth when it comes to sales to see if they really even like sales.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people get into real estate because they see other people flossing out and they want that.
Yeah.
But they don't know what the actual grind of the sales stuff is. And as soon as they get told to F off 20 times in a day, they're like, oh, this is not for me. And you can see it.
Yeah.
Right? So the first thing I look for is people who come from other hardcore sales.
Got it.
If someone tells me that they came from the timeshare industry, I know you've been spat on, right?
I know you've been through some shit.
Yeah,
so
and I know you can at least take that.
Yeah.
Like the Dispositions guy I just hired, he's been in timeshare for over a year.
Oh, okay.
Right? Which is great because timeshare is very quick to eat you up and spit you out. If you don't perform, you're out. There's no emotional connections to an employee. If you don't hold this standard, you're just gone. It's a big revolving door. So if you can stay, I know you can at least put the ball through the hoops sometimes.
Yeah. So
right?
you are looking for some sort of sales experience.
Some sort of sales experience.
Yeah.
You got to have something. I'm not hiring just the ambitious guy because everyone's ambitious in an interview.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And then they get there and you watch it decline fast.
Oh, for sure.
Right. And that's the mistake I've learned is you'll talk to people in an interview and you're like, wow, this guy is out of control. He's a hustler. He's ready to go. A month down the road, you're like, man, where did all that go?
Yeah.
Right. You were so ambitious and this hustler mentality during your interview.
Yeah.
And you're not putting that on the phones.
Yeah.
Right. So I want the person who's been chewed up and spit out. I can teach you the sales stuff.
Yeah.
I can't teach you the hustle. Or I can't teach you resilience to people who tell you no.
Yeah. So first thing you're looking for is sales experience. Are you looking for real estate experience?
No, I don't want that.
Okay, you don't want that.
No, I don't want the realtor because I don't think that's real sales experience.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody can just go get their license. And a lot of people do go get their license not knowing that this is a sales job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, you're going to spend the majority of your time on the phone pitching people.
Yeah.
Right? And you're going to get told no a lot.
Got it.
And I don't want the realtor either, when you tell them, hey, we need this home $150,000 less, than, you know, what you see on Zillow, then being like, oh, that can never even happen.
Yeah. Or that's illegal. Or
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want any of that.
Yeah. Okay. So no realtor or real estate experience, but they have to have sales experience. Anything else you're looking for?
No, not specifically. Right.
Interesting.
I just want someone who's been kicked in the teeth with sales.
Got it.
Right. Timeshare, car sales, even furniture stuff.
Yeah.
Right. I want people who get told no all the time.
Got it. And then what about pay? Like for an acquisition person, what do you think is like a good pay amount?
So right now I'm doing base plus commission.
Okay.
I like that better than just the commission structure because I have faith in our future and the amount of deals that we're able to lock up. So it's more beneficial to me to offer decent commission with a base rather than like here's 15 or 20%. Plus we're going to do 150 deals this year. Because next year I want to do 200. Right now I'm really losing money if I'm giving everyone 20%.
Interesting.
Right. So I have faith in our system. Especially now. So yeah, I'm doing base plus it's a tiered commission, goes up to 12%.
Goes up to 12%. And then what is like a good base, you think?
$2,000.
$2,000.
Yeah. I think it should depend a little bit too on where you're located.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Living
If you're
expenses.
in Arkansas, you maybe don't have to shell out 2,000, but I at least want to pay someone's rent.
What do you think as far as for salespeople? Have you ever had part-time salespeople? Do they need to be full-time salespeople? Like
they've got to be full-time, and I don't want any other job commitments. So if they're working as an acquisitions and then they leave to go work at STK or something at night, I don't want that. I want your back against the wall because I want your sales role to be, it's either this or nothing.
Yeah.
I don't want you to fall back on the other job that you have.
Interesting.
And I see it happen, you know, and it's some of the mistakes I've made where you hire people and they also have another gig and they're not going to give you 100%.
Yeah.
Right. If they were going to give you 100%, they'd leave that other job.
Yeah.
Right. Or if they had any, like, if they knew they were going to succeed in sales, they'd quit the other job.
Yeah.
Right. So it says a lot when somebody's not willing to do that.
Yeah. What do you think as far as, do you give people the predictive index or no?
I used to. Yeah. I think it's a great tool.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. And like the DISC assessment. Yeah. I think it's probably a must.
Yeah.
Right. I think I don't use it as much as I should. I was using it a lot. I like how long have you been you've been selling cars for 5 years, right? I know you can do it, you know,
'Cause they're in sales.
right. So they're already in it. So that's proof enough for me to at least devote my time to now training them up.
Yeah. So that was all hiring. What about performance wise? Like what kind of KPIs are you looking at? When do you decide to fire someone?
So I used to look at everything, talk time, how many people you're calling per day. I used to have minimums on calling. Like if you're not calling at least 50 people or have a talk time of 2 hours, I pay a little bit more attention to talk time now. I don't care how many people they're calling, right? What I pay attention to is how many people do you have in your follow-up and how many of them are being missed. How many leads do we have coming in and how many of those are getting missed?
Yeah.
Right. And then I'll keep the sweet spot based on that person alone. So the biggest metric that I'm looking at now is just leads to contract for that individual.
Got it.
Right. So, and it's because I don't want to overwhelm them again, because then you'll fall into that loop. If I start telling this person, you have to talk or you have to make 75 phone calls a day, they're going to make the 75 phone calls a day. Right. They may not be productive phone calls.
Yeah.
So I'd rather see 15 phone calls a day, a high talk time, and 2 contracts than 150 phone calls.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm more looking at just how much income are you really bringing in that month? And then they have standards on that. So talk time I like, contracts for the day, right? It's either going to be one of those 2 things and then total revenue for the month.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting because so today we have Justin on the switcher. So Justin does like our operations. And whenever we're talking about like KPIs, for me, the main KPI I care about is did you bring in deals?
Right.
Like if a salesperson is bringing in deals, I used to be like, well, if I make them dial more, then they're going to get more deals. So I push the dials and then like they get thrown off or that's not their personality or whatever the case may be. And I've lost people like that. I've seen their production go down. So now I focus mainly on like, are they getting deals? If no, then I'll look at the other metrics and be like, hey, bro, you called 13 people today. Like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
And then I'll look a little bit of dials and talk time. But main metric is, are they getting deals? And then I'll slowly try to work on the other things instead of setting like, call 100 people a day and get 3 hours of talk time a day. But yeah, that's kind of like what I've seen.
I mean, and that's what people should pay attention to. And I get it. Everyone has to go through that first. Right? Everyone has to hit the dial and then lose money to realize like, oh, or like lose a good acquisitions person.
Yep.
To be like, damn, I shouldn't have hit it that hard or it's not productive to hit it that hard.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? So I've stopped looking at all that. I'm very involved too. I mean, I'm in the office. I'm hearing every single call that they're making. I do the whisper feature quite often. And I'm also underwriting everything.
And you do this all through Ready Mode?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Got it. Oh, so Ready Mode connects to REI Simply like that, where everything is connected?
No. RE Simply is what we're using. Yeah. Ready Mode, they just send the leads directly over, or we can do live transfers.
Got it. Okay. RE Simply has its own dialer that you use.
Right.
Got it. Okay, got it. Anything else you think for KPIs or sales performance for salespeople?
No, I mean, KPI wise, again, all we're paying attention to is how many leads are you getting? And I think what a lot of people overlook is how many leads were scheduled to be followed up and were not followed up, right? That's a big one.
Yeah.
And we've won so many deals by, you told me you were going to call me Wednesday at noon, and you called me Wednesday at noon. Right? I got told by 2 other investors they were going to call me yesterday and they didn't. Or they called me 2 hours late. A lot of times this is people's biggest decision they're going to make in their life. And this is their most valuable asset. If someone is on the other end of the line, you're like, what time should I call you? And they're like, I don't know. Call me 1 or 2. No. Like, what time should I call? You know, when are you going to be available? And you tell them 1 and you have an appointment at 1. I promise you that person's looking at the clock. And they know 1 o'clock's coming. Yeah. I understand our salespeople have 100 different people that they're talking to, but this person only has 1. Yeah. Right? And if you call at 1:05 or 1:10 when you promise them 1 o'clock, they're paying attention to that. Yeah. Right? And they're immediately discounting your credibility when you're late, or if you don't call, God forbid, or if you call a day late, which everyone tends to do. Right? And we've won plenty of deals by people just saying like, hey, you called when you said you were going to. Yeah. I want to do business with you. So that's huge.
That is huge. Yeah. What about like how long is your typical acquisition call when they get a deal? Because there's been debates. We have RJ Bates who says 7 minutes. Yeah. And then you have Eric Klein who is like literally, I don't want to exaggerate, but it was long. It was like an hour and a half or more. Sure.
Yeah, I would say probably our average is going to be around like 45 minutes to an hour for the deals that we do get. But again, I push hard on rapport. I want you to know everything about them and them to know nothing about you. Got it. Right? Because I want to paint the picture of what it is they're doing. Plus, I want you guys to be friends. Right? Because when we go to offer, I don't want that click. Yeah. Right? If you're getting that click, I promise you, you're not friends. Yeah. Right? And the biggest thing to overcome in sales is the other person being honest. They know you're a salesperson. You walk into a car lot. What's the first thing you say when somebody comes up to you and like, what you looking for? I'm just looking. Yeah. You're lying right out of the gates. The first words out of your mouth is a lie. When you call someone and they know you're a sales guy trying to bid on their house, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to lie to you, or they're going to tell you that they want more for their house, right? If you can build that relationship, the odds of them now lying to you or hanging up on you dramatically increase or decrease, right? Yeah. So I want the honesty, And I want to be able to price anchor without like ultra offending somebody, right? I want to be able to negotiate with somebody and them actually hang on and negotiate rather than jump off the phone.
Yeah. What do you think as far as how much are you guys typically offering on your properties, and who's underwriting it before that offer is made?
I underwrite everything
Before the offer.
before the offer.
Got it.
So part of our process is getting a number out of them. I want to see what their asking is, and then I want to see how far off we are. And then that starts our negotiation process. So I'm really big into the negotiation process too, and teaching our reps on how to negotiate properly in real estate. Because we're not always just, what's your asking? Yes, I can do it. Let's move forward. Even though that would be great, marketing cost has to be high.
Yeah.
Because now that's low-hanging fruit. I want to start a negotiation process with everybody because I, at the end of the day, really want to make sure that we're getting the best deal out of this.
Yeah.
Right? And the only way to do that is to start a negotiation.
Yeah.
Right? So I want to start that negotiation. So everything gets put on my desk first. I'll underwrite. I'll let them know where I think we need to start, what's our price anchor, where we should try to land, and then what's our max.
Interesting. What do you think as far as when you're underwriting it? Are you doing like offer 50% or like?
No, I'm running everything through a calculator. I'm taking everything into account. So if it needs a new roof, I'm adding that in because I know the investor on the other end is going to add that in. Right? So when we go to dispo these deals, I'm pretty spot on to where I think we're going to be able to sell this. So I'm taking account of everything that happened during that phone call and adding that into our calculators.
Yeah.
So I'm not just doing the typical 75%, what we think an AR or what we think rehab's going to be. I'm doing like the full cosmetic workup minus the AC, minus the roof. And again, I want the end buyer that's buying this to be happy too.
Yeah.
Right? Because then they'll come back.
Yeah.
And then they'll fight over deals.
Yeah.
And now I can increase our dispo.
Do you think you're doing any type of price per square foot estimate?
Yeah, we'll do that for cosmetic. So
Yeah.
I'll usually run like in places like Arkansas, Oklahoma, big rental markets. I'll run like anywhere from a $15 to $20 per square foot.
Got it.
In Vegas, I'll do like 25 to 35 just based on condition.
Got it. And what are the markets you're in? Oklahoma, Arkansas, Vegas?
Yep. Vegas, not as much anymore, but it's Oklahoma, Arkansas, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia. We're slowly going to move into Texas.
Okay.
There's a couple more on our list. I think Ohio, Indianapolis.
So you're targeting rental markets.
Yeah.
Because those are all, most of them are rental markets.
Right. So if you're just in a fix and flip market, like Vegas, for instance, you're only marketing these deals once you get them to one type of person, right?
Yeah.
And when things change, like interest rates, well, you've just lost your buyer's list,
Interesting.
right? So now you have to slow down and the wheel stops turning as hard.
Yeah.
But if you're in other markets, you have multiple options. Plus your dispositions, the people on the back end, you've now doubled, right? Because there's fix and flippers in these markets. And then there's also people who own 100, 200 rentals, and they're only going to buy it for a rental.
Yeah.
Right? So you're able to market to everybody
Yeah.
rather than just the fix and flipper.
Yeah.
And the fix and flipper has to pay less for the house than the guy who's going to rent it.
For sure.
Because the fix and flipper has to make it shine bright.
Yeah.
Right? He's got to be the best home on the market, $25, $30 a square foot. The renter's getting away with $15 a square foot, right? Yeah. Which that money now goes in the wholesaler's pocket. They just want to be able to refi out.
Yeah.
They'll keep money in the deal. They just want to be able to refi out.
Interesting.
So you're able to sell the deals a little bit higher, which I think is why our average wholesale fee has increased so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Because that makes a lot of sense.
So it's just about getting diverse so that we don't get caught with our pants down again. Or when things change, and they will, we still have options, right?
Why are the salespeople not able to just underwrite the deal themselves?
I've done that before.
Yeah.
I think the problem is I just want them constant, and maybe we'll move a little bit more towards that if I decide to like start taking steps back. I mean, obviously we'll have to have that. A lot of the problems is that they just want the deal. They're going to take the nicest home and use that as their ARV, right? And then when I go look at that, I'll say, well, this has this going on, or you know,
that's a mansion.
Yeah, right. So like
using a price per square foot in a gated community.
And underwriting can be its own skill.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. And I want it to be as realistic as possible. So when I remove that responsibility from them, they don't really have to concentrate on that anymore. And a lot of times we were getting such tight deals. And the reason we were getting such tight deals is because they just wanted the deal. So they're just offering on whatever it took to get that deal done. When I can lay the standard of what we need the deal for, they're going to offer that amount. Yeah. I'm right here listening to them.
Interesting.
You know, so just by that alone, it's not having to change their mindset. It's forcing it.
Yeah.
You know,
that's so good because I think what we were doing before recently was like our sales people were running the deals, but then I felt like they were taking so much time running deals.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
That started to be the excuse of like, oh, well, I'm running deals.
Right.
And then I would sit there and watch them, and I'm like, dude, it's not a deal. Like, stop talking to me about it, and stop looking at it.
Right.
Like, it's been 30 minutes to an hour of you messing with this deal. So yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
Or they'll just listen to whatever their asking is. You know, I want 100, and they'll be like, okay, well, we can do 100, and they're just going for the slam dunk. Yeah. Right. And then how many times has it come up where it's like, hey, we need to get a price reduction? They call, they're like, hey, you know, after walking it and seeing stuff, you know, we actually need it for 80, and they're like, okay. Yeah. Like, man, we didn't even have to go through that. Yeah. You should have just offered way less. Yeah. Right? They were willing to take way less. Again, this is a sales negotiation. They have their gloves on. You have yours on. Yeah. Right? They're going to ask whatever Zillow tells them, or they may discount a little bit, but in their mind, they know what they're willing to take for it. Yeah. So how do we get that number? Interesting. We got to ask way less. Yeah. Start the negotiation.
Anything else you think on the sales process?
I would just highly recommend to people that actually like really get good at it, right? Yeah. It's much more than a script. If you're just reading a script, you're doing not only your seller a disservice, but yourself. Yeah. You want to get good at sales because it'll stick with you with everything else, and you'll get way more deals.
For sure.
Right? So if you can understand the psychology behind sales, it will really help you long term. Plus, when you go to hire a team, you're not just handing them a script and like, here's our sales process. Yeah. Right? Because they're going to get taken off track. It's a yellow brick road, but it never goes that way. Right? You're reading the script. People are going to take you way off course. Yeah. So you need to learn how to get back where you were or to redirect this person the correct way. Yeah. So you can get back down that yellow brick road that's like the script is designed for.
Yeah. Okay, so now I want to break down dispositions and then go into like leadership and operations. Okay. I have a feeling you're a really good leader, and I could tell by a lot of things you're saying. So I do want to touch on that. But last thing I want to talk about is dispositions on the wholesale side. I think a lot of people overlook dispositions. They think like, oh, you just post it on Investor Lift or post it on a Facebook group. And I've been a victim, or I've been a victim of that too, thinking like, yeah, dude, you just post on Investor Lift and people hit you up. Yeah. And then you post stuff and then no one calls you and then you're like, damn. So right now, I'll tell you our dispositions route. So we get stuff. I'll post it on my Instagram because I have a following, and then people hit me up, and then I kind of work those leads. And then we don't really post on Facebook groups, but then we do post it on Investor Lift. And then I'll also just hit up like relationships that I have because I'm doing like Southern California and Vegas. So if it is in Vegas, we're going to sell it for sure. We're for sure. Yeah. If it's in Southern California in some of the main cities, easy. The problem comes when you get these like secondary markets or these mobile homes or like these weird type of deals. And you have to look for new buyers. Right. And I think Like in the perfect world, we would always get a 3-2 in Las Vegas that's beat up and at a good price. But then it's just like when you start getting these like not common deals, those can make up a ton of your revenue throughout the year. And I think before I would kind of just be like, it's unsellable. But now I'm like I'm doing Dispo right now, and it is it's not hard, but it's a lot harder than I thought it was.
Right. Yeah. And, I fell victim to that too because my primary market was Vegas for so long. I was used to just getting a deal, sending it out, and like I'll check my inbox in like an hour or two.
Yeah.
And boom, there's 25 offers in there.
Yeah.
Now I just have to go through these 25 offers and try to see if I can get anybody up.
Or you sell to your big three. You already know the top 3 guys.
Yep.
I'm going to say their names, but we're going to bleep them out because I don't want to give them credit. Better Assets.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Empire.
Yeah.
And some other guy in Southern California. You send it to them, they're going to buy it, and you're all good.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And it was so easy.
Yeah.
So I never paid attention to Dispo. We didn't need a Dispo person.
Yep.
I could easily just build an email and send it out. Right when we started getting into other markets, I realized that is not the case, right? And it started getting very frustrating, especially because we started getting so many deals under contract so quick. And now I was just like, why aren't these deals selling? I sent them to an email list. I should have offers. It's not how it works, right? So now I have an actual process of what we go through, and we pretty much do it all, right? Of course, we'll still send out emails. We'll text blast everybody. We have our VIP buyers. Everyone does all of those get a phone call. So every single one, because I want actual offers from everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And we teach our Dispo rep that everybody should submit an offer. If they tell you pass, not good.
Yeah.
Not good enough.
Yeah.
We need an offer from that person. I don't care if it's $5. Just get the offer.
Yeah.
Right. Or the reason why they're not buying right now. Right. So if they're just not buying, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I need that in writing, not from them, from our Dispo guy. Right.
Yeah.
Call them, not buying at the moment. Everyone else has to have offers because I want to see a trend of offers so I really know where we can sell it. We also call all the surrounding listings that have been either for rent or currently rented that look like they have been flipped, or all the fix and flips.
Oh, okay.
Right? So we're calling all the surrounding areas. We use Investor Lift.
Yeah.
It's great. We're not hoping to just sell it by putting it on there. We're using the Artemis mode, God mode, and using those tools.
That's what I'm doing too.
Yeah. Facebook groups, good too.
They work too?
Yeah. I mean, I've sold a decent amount of our deals just from Facebook.
So specifically when you're using Investor Lift, how many times are you posting it and then getting offers that you take versus like sitting here and calling through?
Man, I would say like, and this would be me guessing because we don't actually track this number, but maybe 10% of the deals we post get an offer on Investor Lift and sell it.
Yeah. Because
It's
I
not
haven't
high.
been getting that.
But I think a lot of times people get so many Investor Lift deals in their mailbox
So they just start blowing
that
them off.
they just blow them off.
Yeah.
Or they just assume you're just another Investor Lift wholesaler. It's not a deal.
Interesting.
Right. So I want to get those people on the phone.
Yeah.
We want all of them to receive phone calls and submit offers.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to take the chance that those emails are going to their junk box, which does happen too. Right. So I want to make sure that they see it. If they get a phone call, the odds of them submitting an offer are very high.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if you have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
And especially if you're not known for sending out bad deals.
Exactly.
Right. So they'll get back to you. Sometimes you have to remind people. Investors aren't always the most responsive people in the world. So you just have to remind them a few times like, hey, we're going to make a decision on Wednesday. Just wanted to make sure we can throw your hat in the ring. You know, what did you come up with? And
So you put a date on when you're going to accept an offer. You don't call. What if you blast it off at 300 and the investor says, yeah, I'll pay 300?
if we have a buy it now price on there,
Yeah.
I'll sell it for that.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, but there has to be a buy it now price on there. If
So you
there's
put
not,
different prices.
sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. Sometimes I will, especially when I was running Dispo. and this is lazily for me to do. Like if I'm going out of town or something and hey, I need to sell this today.
Yeah.
I'll throw a buy it now price on there. Or if we're trying to stretch a little bit high, I'll throw a buy it now price on there. But for the most part, we'll just do starting at 300, try to field as many offers as we can.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on Dispo?
No, I mean, Dispos, it's a learning curve for me too. But I think as long as you're doing, I mean, everyone knows what they should be doing to sell a deal. There's really not a lot of secrets there. As long as you're doing them all.
I don't know if there's secrets, but I do think there's best practices.
Sure.
And I do think industry wide, it sounds so easy to be like, throw it on Investor Lift and do Facebook groups.
Yeah.
But just working the leads, it's just like sales. Right. Like you have to work the leads.
You do.
And I've been coaching people for years. And this is the first time I've been doing Dispo at kind of like a volume base where I'm not just flipping everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's work.
For sure.
People hit me up all the time. They're like, dude, help me Dispo, put it on Investor Lift. I'm like, I could do that, but
it's not going to sell.
It's not going to sell.
Yeah.
Like if it's a great deal, but obviously if it's a great deal, you wouldn't be hitting me up.
Right.
And if you're listening to this and you need help with dispositions, hit me up. We're going to put the link in the description of this video. But yeah, I have noticed that now I have to go on Artemis mode or God mode, and I'm calling people that have flipped around my house and they didn't even inquire. I'm just like looking for the flippers, calling them, working them. I get, dude, and my problem with dispositions, and then we'll go to leadership, is I have such a short temperament because I'm very like hot and cold. Like if I want the deal, I'm like, I'll buy it. If I don't, I'm like, no. So I'll buy houses sight unseen, no contingencies, all this crap. Like I've done it for years and years and years. And some of these buyers are like, well, I need a 3-day home inspection. I'm like, bro, there's 100 photos.
Yeah.
What do you need to see?
I'm the same way.
It's a full rehab. Like make up your mind.
Yeah.
But when you're starting to scale, you start to deal with these other buyers that are, maybe it's their first flip. Maybe it's their
and they haven't done
flip.
100 of these and they want that extra time and you got to treat them right because that person may just be scaling.
Exactly.
And you need that person on your side long term. You don't want to come to find out now this person's doing 100 deals a year and you blew him off and he doesn't like you.
Exactly.
Right? So I'm the same way. My patience is very thin, which is another reason why I had to hire out, because I can teach them practices that I know that I'll probably break.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want to deal with this right now. Let me move on to the next person.
Exactly.
Right. So that's been huge for us too. And then another good one that I think people should note as well when you're calling surrounding listings, give them a big compliment on their flip. And it goes a long way. That's right. That's people love that. Yeah. Right. Oh my God, I looked at this home over on 123 Main Street and you guys killed this. Wow, did that turn out good? Are you looking for any others? I have one. Yeah. Right. It seems like you guys really know what you're doing. Yeah. Right. And now they're gonna get you an offer. Yeah. Right. They're gonna, I like this guy. Yeah. Yeah. You must be doing a ton of these. Like, man, like the color scheme, everything. Just compliment the house. Treat them right. Don't just act as like the stuck up wholesaler. Like, hey man, I have a deal, like balls in my court. Yeah. And people like new wholesalers. Right. Yeah. So act like the new wholesaler.
But that's so funny.
Yeah.
That's like stuff I know, but I'm literally like, hey, I got this deal. Here's the photos. Let me know. Yeah. And then I'm like, I get it. Hey, let me know. Yeah. I know this is a deal. Yeah. And I'm like, freak, dude.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to stroke the ego a little bit and you'll get that offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing I want to talk about is just operations and leadership. Sure. Right. So you sound like you're in the day-to-day of your business. You sound like you're doing a good job leading people and training them and having actual systems and processes for people to, follow. Mm-hmm. Like, what were some of the mistakes that you made in the beginning? And then what are like some of the best practices that you're doing now? Yeah.
So I had to learn this the hard way, unfortunately, especially with leadership or how involved or how non-involved I should be. And I did learn it the hard way. So I would just train a little bit off the bat. Hey, this is our sales process. This is how it works. We'll do a sales training here and there when needed, and good luck. Mm-hmm. Right. doesn't work, right?
Or sometimes it might work.
Yeah,
And then you're
and-
like, that's what it is.
And
But
sometimes if you get the right person, they'll do really well in the beginning because they're just that person that's going to do well. And then they're going to start defaulting back to however it is you're acting, right? So I'm a big component of lead from the front now, right? I'm not going to ask people to be at the office at a certain time if I'm not there.
Yeah.
Or to show up and work this many hours if I'm not willing to do that, or if I'm unwilling to put in the same amount of hours, make the same amount of phone calls, do any of it, right? I want to be very, very involved, and that keeps them very, very involved. The only time I'll now step back is if I can hire someone in my place to now make up that role, right? But the opposite I found to be very not true. If you're going to show up at 10:30 one day, then 11 the next, then 10:05 the next, well, then they're slowly going to start to do that, right? You may get the one-off guy who's just has the greatest work ethic in the world and is in his own little space, but that person may eventually leave. If he is that entrepreneurial spirited, you may just be training your competition.
Got it.
Right? If you really want that good hard worker, that guy who's going to be by your side for the next 5 years, then lead from the front, right? And he'll follow in your footsteps. I'm a big believer of that now because I've done the opposite and I've seen the opposite.
Yeah.
And it's not pretty.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't ask anything of anyone in my office now that I'm not willing to do myself. And even if I mean, it's not even about willing, is I'm going to do it. Yeah. I'll be there with you every single day. Yeah. I get there 10 o'clock sharp every day. I expect the same from my team.
What do you think as far as firing people and turn in your company?
Yeah. So firing people, there has to be a clear metric, right? And then I've got to look at myself first. Right? Because it's easy to be the guy who's showing up at different times every day or is not giving the salespeople enough attention, not holding daily huddles, not doing sales training all the time, and then look at your sales guy and just be like, what's up, dude? You're not closing deals. Yeah. On to the next one. It's your fault. Yeah. As the leader, you should be there, right? So it's accountability. That book, Extreme Ownership by Jocko, has been fantastic, right? Because it really is. It's your fault, right? Yeah. You don't know if this person's good enough or was good enough to do that role because you didn't give them the best shot at doing that role, right? You just weren't there. You weren't training. You weren't doing those things. It's a leadership problem. Yeah. So I've really taken that to heart, and now we do daily huddles every single day. We're going over all of our deals, where they're at. I'm printing out to-do lists for everyone after the daily huddles. We're doing sales training twice a week, right? We're doing a big list of things. So if somebody's not performing, I have to honestly be able to say it wasn't my fault. Yeah. Right? And it's clear at that point. Yeah. You can tell when someone's heart's not in it anymore. And then it's an easy conversation. Right? You can sit down with them and the breakup is a lot easier because they know and you know and everything's been done and you've told them multiple times, right? Like, hey, your numbers are way down. What's going on? Let's look into your leads. Let's listen to your calls. You're not doing this. Yeah. Let's fix this. Yeah. And they don't fix it. And you have the conversation again. Well, then by the third time, everyone has seen this coming. If you're catching people like from left field when it comes to firing them, there's a problem there, right? That should have been addressed. They should know why they're getting fired the day that they're probably going to get fired. They should see it coming, right? Because everyone is so aware of the problem. Yeah. If you're not doing that, it's a leadership thing.
What do you think as far as, have you poured into someone, trained them, did all your parts, and them still not be successful?
No, I think that everyone that we've lost in the past up to this point has been because I lacked as the leader. I'll take full responsibility for that. I did have a big, this is the role, this is the sales training, good luck. Yeah. I'm here when you need me.
Yeah.
And I've always been a hard worker, so I'm always in the office working, but I'm not dedicating my time to making them better.
Yeah.
I'm dedicating my time to making me better.
Yeah.
Right? It was and that was a huge mistake, right?
Yeah.
And I see that now. So now I'm devoting all my time to making them better.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to get on the call and close the lead, but let's get on the call and I'll whisper and you can find, you know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
and that's how we'll handle that. Or this is why you missed this. Why did you miss this? Like, so I'm dedicating my time now to my team and it's paid dividends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, another part of leadership, which I think is very important, is the ability to make tough decisions.
Sure.
So as an entrepreneur, like in my career, I've made big decisions to move markets. When I left my current business here, moved to Cali, I made another tough decision to move back here. I've had partnerships that I've had to dissolve. I've had times where I'm over leveraged and I have to like go raise capital to keep me from going bankrupt.
Sure.
I've had to do a ton of like hard decisions, right? So you said you went solo, you know, in 2023, right?
Yeah, the end of last year, yep.
Yeah, like not specifically about the partnership or whatever, but can you go through the process of like making like big decisions, like going off on your own?
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things where I think we just both kind of saw it coming. It was more a financial decision than anything. In real estate, having partners, if it's just a 50-50 kind of partner, it's tough, right? Because how do you make future investments together, right? When should you pay yourselves versus when you shouldn't? Or when does it have to go back into... There's a lot of decisions that aren't just about the business.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just about, should we buy this deal? Should we not? Yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? There's a lot of like things down the road that you have to consider for yourself as well.
Yeah.
And it just started to get to a point where, hey, we'll make more money solo. It's not necessarily like this
Personal
just isn't
thing.
it wasn't personal at all. It was a business decision. And I believe we both are.
Yeah.
Right? So it was just one of those things. And like, I want to start buying a ton of rentals. When you have a 50-50 partner, you know, $300 in cash flow doesn't really sound that great long term. And then what do we do long term? Should we sell it? Should we not sell it? You know, but solo, you can stack those up pretty nicely.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you have rentals?
Yeah.
How many rentals do you have?
So right now I only have 6. But they've all been acquired within the last 3 months.
Are they here or where are they at?
Nope, they're all in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay. OKC? Got it.
Yep, and I have 2 more under contract right now that I'm purchasing as rentals.
Okay, last thing we'll talk about is rentals, but I'm not like so interested in like the partnership, whatever. I'm talking about just the decision process.
Making.
Yeah. Because like, I'll give more context too. So when I was gonna move back to Vegas, right? I already had a whole flipping and wholesaling operation in California running. Like I had everything.
Right.
I had an office. I had employees. I had XYZ, right? And then me and Ryan Pineda started talking about me becoming partners at Wealthy Investor. So I was like, okay, so I could become a partner, right? But then at the time I had to move to Vegas. So I was like, okay, those were the options, right? Like stay COO or become partner. So then my decision process, I'm married. So I'm like, okay, I talked to my wife. My wife wasn't on board with moving, but like, you know, I have to do what I think is best for the family. So then I was just like, okay, like I started looking at like money, like, okay, financially, does this make sense? Okay. And then lifestyle, does this make sense? And then do I see myself doing this for enough time where it makes sense for me to kind of let this business slow down to come over here and try to really put my all into this business?
Yeah.
And then what it came down to for me was experience. I was like, I'm going to experience so much. And then financially, it made sense.
Right.
So that decision took a little bit longer, but I've had other decisions where it was like, a 3-month thing, and they came to the point where I can't even sleep at night because it's just like, oh, I don't know what to do, or firing people. So like when you're making a big decision like switching markets, that's another example of that's a huge decision to go from just doing Vegas to doing XYZ. Right.
So I think you just got to be honest with yourself. You know, with taking on extra roles, whether it's moving markets or going solo, what is this going to entail, right? Like, what is going to be my role? And that's what I went through when I left timeshare too. I mean, timeshare was a great gig.
Yeah.
You know, you make fantastic money. You get the best travel perks. When I first got that job, I was like, I'll never quit. And then it came to a point of, okay, well, I want to start my own business and I want to do this. So I had to have an honest conversation with myself. Like, this is what this job is going to entail.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be an on the phone salesperson. I'm going to have to hire a team. I'm going to have to do X, Y, and Z. Like, if you can have that honest conversation with yourself in order to be successful, I know I'm going to have to do these things. Am I willing to do that? And if the answer is yes, then by all means. I mean, it seems like it's the right move for you. I think what a lot of people do is they just see the glamour and they're unwilling to do some of the things, and then they step and make that big decision, and then they get caught with their pants down a little bit, right? But yeah, I'll just honestly list out a things like, hey, if I move into these markets, if I do this, I'm going to have to be a good leader. I'm going to have to invest this much of my money. Am I willing to do these things? What does a good leader look like?
Yeah.
Right? Am I willing to do the daily huddles, the sales training? Am I willing to commit this much of my time to this? Right? Yes or no?
Yeah.
You know? And if the answer is yes, then I mean, go for it. You don't know unless you try, right? So I mean, full steam ahead at that point.
Yeah, I think so. I've coached over 1,000 people. I've coached a lot of high level people, like huge names in the industry. And I've seen that a lot of people fail because sometimes they're just not willing to change.
Right.
Right. You were willing to be like, hey, we're going to switch markets. I've seen other people where interest rates change, flipping doesn't work anymore, or it's way too risky. But because they're unwilling to pivot to wholesaling,
Right.
they literally went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Or they're in a market, something doesn't work anymore, and they just won't stop doing it.
Right.
Or they have weird loyalties to their partners or to their strategy or to whatever, or to an employee that it used to work. And then I'm like, bro, this dude hasn't gotten a deal in like 4 months. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's not lack of knowledge out there.
Yeah.
Because if you want to learn it, you can learn it very quickly.
Yeah.
It's just that it's unwilling to change. Or maybe they didn't have that honest conversation with themselves on, you know, if this happens, I have to be willing to do this.
Yeah.
Am I willing to do this?
Yeah.
Or am I just hoping that this never happens?
Yeah.
Right. And you just got to look in and are you willing to or not?
Yeah.
Because that thing will most likely happen.
Yeah.
Especially in real estate, man.
Yeah,
Nothing just stays consistent.
Yeah.
You know, it's rough sometimes and it's great others.
Yep.
And everything in between. So, especially now with, you know, wholesaling kind of under fire in some places, you know, you've got to be willing to shift. And are you willing to shift or not?
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Last thing we'll talk about is building wealth and buying rentals. So I am obsessed right now with getting to $10,000 net passive income after everything.
Sure.
That is literally one of my biggest goals right now. I'm doing a better job with my current rental portfolio. Before I was just not paying attention to it because I was just so busy as an excuse. But now I'm like, okay, like what the hell is going on? Who is paying what? And like, where could I raise? Where could I cut? All that stuff. Like I've sold properties this year because they were just break even that I had forever. Where are you at with your building wealth journey?
So, I mean, that was another great thing about kind of going solo too now is now I can really concentrate on the future of that because we weren't really getting a lot of rentals, right? But now that's going to start to be my main focus. I'm hoping that here soon we can start purchasing 1 out of every 5 of the properties that we're getting in. I have a pretty strict buy box now for the properties I want to keep.
Okay.
But that's the goal. I mean, I eventually want 100 rentals, right? I want to be netting. I want it to be comfortable, not necessarily to step back and quit real estate. I don't see myself not working. But I do want to start to build that portfolio because, again, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I need something to fall back on.
100%. So, yeah, I think you might, and you never thought you were going to quit timeshare, and you did. You
Right.
never thought you were going to.
You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for people to realize, like, you're buying rentals for, like, rainy day funds in case you need to sell them and liquidate.
Right.
And then also, so, like, you have a baseline every month, like, hey, you're making $20K this month no matter what.
Right.
Everything else is on top, or sometimes you need those $20Ks net to fund your business or whatever, but it's important to just start.
Right. And you got to park that money.
Yeah.
If it's just sitting in the bank and there's a lot of it, man, move it.
Yeah.
Put it in something.
What's your buy box on rentals?
So right now, I'm still going by the 1% rule.
Okay.
Right. So it's got to match that. There's got to be a $500 gap in between my cash flow.
Is that net or is that just gross?
Just gross.
Got it.
Right. That doesn't account for property management fees or anything. Right. So realistically, at the end of the day, it's probably going to be around 300, 250, which I'm okay with.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's also got to be a certain type of build. Right. So I want brick build. I want in like a decent area. I'm not looking to take down a bunch of $20,000 rentals in rough areas that look like they're for sure going to get taken out by a tornado at any time. Right. So I'm just paying attention to the area because I also want to stack equity. I'm selling one of the properties I have now in Vegas that I just bought. It was just all cash. I'm selling that and I'm going to start to move that into different markets as well.
Why aren't you like going to get a loan on it instead of selling it?
It's a good question. I mean, loan wise, I just don't want to have to. I did that for the last one that I had. I just took a HELOC on it. And the HELOC was because it was under an LLC. It wasn't a fixed rate. It was at 10%. It was just more than what I was willing to do when I can just easily move that money around and still have the same equity I have, if not more, and, quadruple the cash flow.
Yeah. And then are you just buying in Oklahoma?
Oklahoma and Little Rock, Arkansas.
Got it. And then are you buying single family or you're doing multifamily?
Just single family for right now. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I own like 27 doors or something like that, somewhere around there. What I've learned is buy as much as you can. Like, I've interviewed the top investors in the country. Freaking Brandon Turner, Thatch Wynn, Pace Morby, Jamil Danji, anyone you could think of I've interviewed, right? And what I started doing now is what I used to do in the beginning of my career. I would ask, like, what advice would you give me? It's so basic, right? But I ask everyone now, like, hey, like, if you can go back 10 years ago, what advice would you give yourself? And all of them, 100% said, I wish I would have kept more real estate.
Right.
All of them.
Right. And they own tons. Yeah.
And they own tons and they're all mega wealthy.
Right.
So I've not gotten any other answer besides that.
Right.
So I was like, dude, I have to do this.
Yes.
Like yeah, the $250 suck right now and it's a headache and it's a eyesore on your P&L every month and your time. But because I started doing that in 2018, I felt the benefits of inflation, of rents going up, of all these things. I'm a multimillionaire now because of things that I did 4 years ago. Imagine if I took it serious for 4 years,
right?
What that could look like.
Yeah.
And it's almost similar to like Alex Hermosi just released a video. He said there's like 2 types of businesses, right? The graph is like this, right? There's a business like wholesaling where it goes up fast and then it's hard to scale, but it goes up quick.
Yeah.
And then there's the other type of business, right? Service-based, where you start off quick, it kind of slows down, but then after a certain amount of time, it exponentially grows. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this business is usually a service-based business because it's reoccurring revenue, just like rental properties, right? Reoccurring rent. And then with inflation, with principal pay down, when random mortgage insurances fall off, when you pay them off, it just exponentially grows. And that's what buying rentals is. It's like a slow grow, but I feel like at a certain point, then you're just like through the roof, where wholesaling and flipping, you're only as good as your next deal.
Right. And I got to slowly get my mind right with that too, because sometimes you'll look at properties and be like, man, I could get a $40,000 wholesale fee, or I can get $300 a month.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing, right? That money is going in your pocket. You're just not seeing it on your bank statement.
Exactly.
But it is the same thing. And I'm slowly shifting into that mindset. Is that 40K going to do anything for me right now?
Probably not.
If you're just starting off, then yeah, great. But if you're not, then no. It's fun to look at.
Oh,
it is nice. I love that.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than checking your bank statements and you're like, I'm going to be all right.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great feeling, but I could imagine the same feeling when you own 100 rental properties.
Yeah.
You know, and it's true wealth. So I'm slowly getting there.
Yeah.
It's been tough, but it's my mindset is completely shifted now.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to start buying as many as I can.
How much revenue are you making a month now?
So I would say the smallest amount we've made since the new year has been 80.
Okay.
So we're pretty consistent with about 100, anywhere from like 100 to 125.
Dang.
We're staying right around that.
Yeah.
That number.
And do you know about how much you've made flipping and wholesaling in your career?
Not as a total.
Yeah.
We've always been over 7 figures.
Yeah.
The goal has always been 2. We've always kind of fallen a little short, 1.4, 1.6.
Yeah.
This year, I think I'm going to hit that 2 mark.
$2 million.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to be knocking on its door for sure. But I just want to make sure that we stay extremely profitable too.
Yeah.
Like it's really easy to hit 2 million and you're, only taking home 30%.
Yeah.
Right. So I always want to be on the backside of 50, make sure that we're always staying at least 60% profitable.
Got it. And the point of asking all that too was like, if you think about it, because I'm the same way, career wise, I'm going to guess you've made millions of dollars.
Sure.
Right? Like, you probably could have bought more rentals and made a little bit less and would have been way wealthier.
Right. In a way better position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the same exact way where I'm like, do I really need to make more than $400K a year net?
No.
Probably not even more than $250.
Right.
Like literally.
Yeah.
And with, appreciation and all these things, it just, your wealth just grows so much faster than just having it in your bank account. And then the problem is when it's in your bank account, you go buy Rolexes, you go, you know what I'm saying? You're just
when it feels extra. Yeah, no, for sure. And I've actually made a spreadsheet of exactly what my ideal life looks like now on a monthly basis. So I know how much I need to pay myself, and not ideal of like, I've got 3 boats and 6 cars, but like, what do I just need to like be happy?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what does my gym membership look like? What does my vacation being reasonable look like per year? How much money should I just stash away for like little rainy day funds and taxes and stuff like that? And like, okay, this is how much I need to pay myself. Everything outside of this number needs to go towards purchasing more and growing that number, right? And then I could reevaluate in 2 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure we will. Like, we want more things, but I've never really been like a big materialistic type of like, I need the Lambo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't care. So I'd rather have the 100 properties.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see your net worth grow. I feel like now that you're in complete control, I feel like you're going to just boom in your wealth, and then you're going to be balling with 100 properties here soon.
Love that.
Yeah. And this was a great podcast too, by the way.
Thank
I don't
you.
tell everyone that. There's some podcasts where I leave and I'm like, bro, that was just rough. Like they literally didn't share anything. You shared a lot.
Well, hopefully I can add some value, man, because I know what it's like starting off, and I know how a lot of investors are with secrets, or explaining kind of how they're getting deals. So I know it's rough, and I know starting off, information's out there, but is it accurate and up-to-date information a lot of times too?
100%.
You know.
So on this YouTube video, we're going to leave your information in the description of this video. And if you haven't, subscribe. But for the people that are listening on Apple and Spotify, where do they go if they want to find you?
Lorenzo H Live on Instagram. I'm on Facebook too, but I just spend the majority of my time on Instagram. I'll start putting some free game on there as well.
There we go.
Let's go.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.